Okay, so today we read from Srila Prabhupada Nectar book. Right? We skip. Yeah, we started Srimad Bhagavatam yesterday, but all the devotees were invisible. So, so we'll read the Srila Prabhupada Nectar, and we'll sing a song about devotional service. Shura Bhakata Charana Renu Bhajana Anakula Bhakata Seva Paramasiddhi Prema Latikara Mula Madhavatiti Bhakti Janani Jitani Palana Kori Krishna Basati Basati Bole Parama Adare Bori Bor Amara Jesa Bastane Koralo Pramana Range Sesa Bastana Heribo Ami Panayi Bhakata Sange Mridanga Bhaja Shunite Mana Abasara Sarajase Gora Bihi Gora Bihita Kirtana Shuni Anande Hridoya Nache Jugala Murti Dekiya Mora Parama Ananda Hoya Prasada Seva Korite Hoya Sakala Prapancha Jaya Jadina Grihe Bhajana Deki Grihe Te Golokabaya Charana Siddhu Dekiya Ganga Suklamasima Paya Tulasi Deki Juraya Prana Madhava Toshani Jani Gora Priya Shaka Sevani Jivana Sartakamani Bhakti Vinod Krishna Bhajane Anukula Payaja. Pratirivase Paramasuke Svikara Kor Oyeta. The dust from the lotus feet of pure devotees gives rise to devotional service. And service to the devotees is itself the supreme perfection and the root of the tender creeper of divine love. With great care I observe holy days like Ekadasi and Janmashtami, for they are the mother of devotion, and with the greatest reverence and love I choose as my dwelling place the transcendental abode of Sri Krishna. In the company of loving devotees, I will visit all those places where my Lord Gaurasundar traveled and performed his pastime. My mind always begs to hear the music of the mridanga, and my heart dances in ecstasy whenever I hear the kind of kirtan established by Lord Gaurachandra. I feel supreme bliss when I behold the deity forms of the divine couple, Sri Radha and Krishna, and I conquer all worldly illusions by honoring the Lord's prasadam. Every day Goloka Vrindavan appears in my home when I see Lord Hari being worshipped there. My joy knows no bounds when I see the Ganges, a river of nectar emanating from the Lord's lotus feet. The sight of the tulasi plant soothes my soul, for I know she gives pleasure to Lord Krishna. I feel that my life has been fulfilled when I honor shak, a green leafy vegetable preparation that is a favorite of Lord Chaitanya's. Whatever Bhaktivinoda obtains that furthers devotional service to Sri Krishna, he accepts every day with the greatest joy. So, today we'll read from the Srila Prabhupada Nectar book. If you watch following in the book, it's on page 142. And number 49, called Personal. So Srila Prabhupada demanded loyalty. That's the section. The title of this section, it says, Srila Prabhupada demanded loyalty. He wanted us to be loyal to him. Loyal. Loyal. Loyal means devoted to. Srila Prabhupada himself was loyal. He always wore his sannyasi saffron dhoti. He always had a shaved head. Srila Prabhupada had his he always shaved his head. He did not have long hair. And he always acted as a perfect Vaishnava wherever he went. He says that Srila Prabhupada was the most loyal son of his spiritual master. And because of that, Srila Prabhupada followed Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's instructions and carried this message of Lord Chaitanya to the Western world. When Srila Prabhupada first arrived in New York City, he was advised by some other Indian swamis that he should stop being vegetarian and dress, Western dress. But Srila Prabhupada would not, of course, never changed. He did not try to change the way they wanted him to change. And Srila Prabhupada was loyal to the previous acharyas. Srimad Bhagavatam purports he would always repeat what the previous acharyas said. So when someone became a initiated disciple of Srila Prabhupada, he expected them also to be loyal to him. So it says Krishna conscious knowledge is exclusive. Means we're very specific to what knowledge we have. And so we understand and we accept that Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan is the supreme personality of Godhead. Means that if we are following Srila Prabhupada, we also do not follow some other conceptions of what is the absolute. It says that we do not even read about these other, like an impersonalist conception, for example. We do not do that except to understand their philosophy so that we can preach Krishna consciousness. Even Vaishnava heritage should be received through him. We can understand Vaishnavism through many people, but we should understand it through Srila Prabhupada. One disciple said to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he is my favorite writer. One of Srila Prabhupada's disciples told Srila Prabhupada that my favorite Vaishnava writer is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But Srila Prabhupada said, no, you're second favorite. Because if we're just followers and disciples of Srila Prabhupada, we have to be a favorite writer about Krishna consciousness must be Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada he expected us to be loyal, partly because his, or at least some of his godbrothers, were antagonistic. Antagonistic means they were opposed. They did not like Srila Prabhupada preaching in the West and the teachings that Srila Prabhupada gave. Many of his godbrothers did not like Srila Prabhupada's preaching. Many did not appreciate what Srila Prabhupada did when coming to America and preaching the way he did. They did not like that. So not being to not be loyal to Srila Prabhupada would be not having dedication to Srila Prabhupada. Not being loyal to him means to not be dedicated to him, which is. So Srila Prabhupada would say that if you lose your faith in your spiritual master, then it's a crack in a foundation of a building. There's a big crack there at the bottom, and it means the whole building will gradually fall. Although Srila Prabhupada wanted our loyalty, it's not something he would just all the time said, you must be loyal to me. He didn't always ask for it, but he wanted it. He preferred just to have loving relationships between himself and his disciples. Srila Prabhupada, when he would refer to his disciples, he would say, he would refer to our men and the Hare Krishna people, which means all of his followers. Srila Prabhupada would talk to other people, and he would refer to say our men, women too, but here's his men, to refer to his disciples, our men, our Hare Krishna devotees. He would refer to us like that. But even though Srila Prabhupada would say like that, he did it without any sense of false prestige. Srila Prabhupada, of course, everyone knew that he was the person who was authorized to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. But he felt very humble about that position. In Srila Prabhupada's books and his purports, he would sometimes say that it is improper for so-called Vaishnavas to not appreciate the work of the acharyas like himself. And it is sometimes someone who is not really a follower, not really Vaishnava, would criticize Srila Prabhupada for Srila Prabhupada was obviously very much empowered to spread Krishna consciousness. But he said that some people, even though they could see that he was empowered, they could not appreciate that. So it says that for those who are followers of Srila Prabhupada, their real spiritual advancement could be seen by how well they were um, 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 how well they were actually followed Srila Prabhupada's instructions. Says that sometimes in the course of preaching we speak, have the conversations with people of other religious faiths, but the Srila Prabhupada's followers, they must have appreciated that the Srila Prabhupada's position was the topmost. And the reasons that the Srila Prabhupada is the topmost can be found in the conclusions of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada always said that we should not disparage. Well, okay. Srila Prabhupada would tell, when he would talk about different religions, he would not criticize the external parts of the religions. He didn't. Anyone can see that you compare different religions. They have different religions have different leaders. They have different religions have their own religious leaders. Maybe the preaching is done in different languages. They start in different parts of the world. So there may be many differences between religions. But Srila Prabhupada did not criticize that all these different religious paths, we are right and everyone else is wrong because they are different. What Srila Prabhupada, but sometimes he did criticize, but it was on the basis of actual improper religious principles.
Иногда бывал, можно было на основании неправильных религиозных принципов.
For example, he would preach to Christians or Jews and say, "Your scriptures say, 'Thou shalt not kill.' Why are you killing? Why are you eating meat?"
Иногда, когда он проповедовал другим религиозным организациям, он говорил, у вас написано в ваших писаниях, не будете убивать.
He did not criticize that your teacher is Jesus, or your teacher was Moses or Abraham or like that. He did not criticize that, but he did criticize the basic principle that thou shalt not kill. That you're eating meat and you're killing.
Он никогда не критиковал, например, Иисуса как личность, но критиковал принципы религии, не людей, а убивать.
So there are different ways of expressing one's affection and one's loyalty to Srila Prabhupada.
Существуют различные такие выражения преданности Прабхупаде.
So one kind of loyalty that Srila Prabhupada considered very important is that he sent a devotee to some particular part of the world or to some particular temple that he expected that his disciples who he sent there should stay there and keep on preaching, even if it became difficult.
Он предполагал, что преданные его крупные в различных частях мира, они должны проповедовать послание, хотя они
out of loyalty to Srila Prabhupada, if one a disciple agrees to follow the four regulative principles, and we promise to follow them at the time of initiation. So out of loyalty, one continues to follow the four regulative principles. Sometimes a devotee would complain, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, it's so difficult working with such and such other devotees. They're very difficult to work with." And Srila Prabhupada, he did not say, "No, go somewhere else." He would say, "No, that is your austerity. You stay and you work with that person." So this determination to continue working with God brothers is another expression of loyalty to Srila Prabhupada. Another example of loyalty is that one stays loyal to specifically the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. To to be loyal to Srila Prabhupada and to reject ISKCON is not possible. It's connected.
Быть преданным Прабхупаде и одновременно отвергать принципы ИСККОНа невозможно.
To be loyal is not just it's not just being theoretically loyal, but in a practical sense, you're loyal because you stay in one temple where you're supposed to stay, or you stay at least within ISKCON where you're supposed to be working. Okay.
Быть преданным тогда означает пребывать в этом центре ИСККОНа и действовать согласно с принципами.
So the disciple should think, I will do the needful. As a faithful son or daughter, I will stay and I will continue my service.
И преданно говорили, что я духовный брат, очень духовный сын, и поэтому я буду оставаться и следовать всему.
So if we're attached to Srila Prabhupada, then we engage in certain activities that help us to always remember him. And if we are loyal, that is, if we're actually loyal and we start thinking, oh man, we start considering accepting such and such other person as my guru rather than Srila Prabhupada, then that is also, you feel very guilty about that. Guilty means you feel you're guilty. It means you're feeling bad. You're feeling like I'm doing this. I'm looking at this other guru, but I'm not feeling. I feel that it's the wrong thing to do. I'm doing it, but I feel it's wrong. If we're so if someone is we in ISKCON we accept Srila Prabhupada, but if we start thinking that maybe I'll accept such and such other person, maybe I'll start listening to one of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers, for example, and so but if one's very loyal to Srila Prabhupada, then they will think, they'll feel very bad. Why am I even thinking about this? Why am I thinking about somebody else, some other guru outside of ISKCON? We have Srila Prabhupada to follow.
Если нас привлекают другие люди, то быть разочарованным
So it says, during Srila Prabhupada's presence, when his Gurukula teachers began to seriously follow the teachings of Mary Montessori, Kirtanananda remarked, They have taken a new guru. Montessori. I guess I was referring to there's schools called Montessori schools. Montessori schools. There's one in Coconut Grove. I don't know much about them. The private schools. So apparently, I never. This is the first time I've read this. Apparently, the Srila Prabhupada gave us a lot of instructions regarding teaching the children, Gurukula, and so on. So apparently, some teachers in our Gurukulas, rather than following the standards that Srila Prabhupada set, they were following some other system taught by somebody else. So apparently these particular Gurukula teachers in ISKCON has had to reconsider who are we following? Are we following Srila Prabhupada and his system of teaching? Or are we following somebody else outside of ISKCON? The more that we can retain habits we have learned from him, like the style of eating, the way of dressing, then the more that we can keep remembrance of him in loyal reality, provided we do these things in an intelligent way. So Srila Prabhupada showed us, here's how you eat Krishna conscious type food. Here's how you dress, like we're dressing. Here's so many things that Srila Prabhupada taught us and showed us by his example. So the more that we try to follow what Srila Prabhupada taught, then the more that we will remain devoted to Srila Prabhupada by trying to follow those instructions. So another point of loyalty is that a disciple or follower of Srila Prabhupada is loyal to our philosophy, even if there's other philosophies even if they're confronted with other philosophies, a loyal disciple does not give up our philosophy for their philosophy. Just like we preach, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The perfection of spiritual life means to engage in devotional service to the Lord, not. But if someone comes up and they start preaching Mayavad philosophy to a devotee, they do not, or should not, hopefully, become confused by the Mayavad philosophy and reject the philosophy that Srila Prabhupada taught us.
Некоторые приходят, начинают проповедовать философию Майавады. И тогда требования поведения сбиваются с толку. Необходимо следовать
For example,
например,
Srila Prabhupada always preached that life comes from life and that scientists cannot create life.
и как Прабхупада всегда проповедовал, что жизнь происходит от жизни, она не происходит.
He also said that they have not gone to the moon and they cannot go to the moon. So we accept that.
И Срила Прабхупада говорил, что они не просто попали на Луну, они не могли попасть на Луну.
We also taught that the demigods and God Himself are real persons. They're not what do they call it?
Прабхупада всегда что любовь и Бог не
They're not. It's not mythology. Mythology means
И Срила Прабхупада говорит, что они все личности, то есть не просто как метафора, любовь и Бог личность.
like when we would grow up and go to school. When I was going to school, we would read about Greek mythology and different kinds of mythology, the sun god, the moon god, all the different kinds of gods. So they were taught that, but we understand that there is actually a sun god, a moon god, and a rain god, and like that, and the God Himself, Krishna Himself, as a personal form. We understand that, but we don't. So we accept that, even though they call it mythology or they call it, something else.
И когда мы ходим в школу и растем, мы обучаемся, и может быть, слышно в нашей школе какие-то метафоры, что там солнце это Бог, луна это Бог, и Срила Прабхупада, он как и солнце, но он говорит, что это не то, что это не метафора,
Just like we have our Krishna book about Krishna and his pastimes. So someone's actually loyally following Srila Prabhupada. When we read Krishna book, we take it that these nice, extraordinary stories about Krishna's activities are real. They're not the stories. They're actually historical. Actually, the Srimad Bhagavatam is part. The Krishna book is part of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is also one of the Puranas, called the Bhagavat Purana. And the Puranas, they are actually histories. In Sanskrit and history, the word is itihasa.
На санскрите это слово называется.
So they're not just like children's stories. They're actually real live events, real histories.
Ну, это не то, что это истории, а это действительно
And so a devotee has developed some faith will accept that everything that we read in the Srimad Bhagavatam is real. Okay? So this is all signs of loyalty to Srila Prabhupada, except reading these books and accepting that what they say is actually true, factual. Um, As Srila Prabhupada wanted that we regularly read his books, study his books. He did not encourage that we read the books of so many other uh, um, leaders from other different groups, but he did encourage that in addition to reading his books, we would read certain books of our previous acharyas, like Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Sri Goswami, and so on. Srila Prabhupada specifically mentioned two books that I could think of right off, Bhaktivedanta Thakur, he said were very important books. One of them is Jaiva Dharma, and another one is the Chaitanya Shikshamrita. And there were many others, but he specifically mentioned those two as well as Bhaktivedanta Thakur's books. So some of them those were especially important. So in that way, there are so many ways where we need to be loyal to Srila Prabhupada, whether we're a disciple or grand disciple or great grand disciple. We all have that loyalty to Srila Prabhupada. I think we're at the end of our time. Are there any questions? No questions?
No, I will say.
Oh.
We know that Prabhupada always used these discussions concerning religion principles with others, leaders in the world, Srila Prabhupada convinced them in Krishna consciousness principles. Maybe is there some or one situation when Srila Prabhupada couldn't convince somebody?
When he could not convince them?
Yes. Вопрос такой, что Прабхупада буквально всегда, когда бы он с ним не встречался, он всегда все-таки брал всегда такое близко, то есть это сознание Кришны. Может быть, были какие-то моменты или случаи, когда Прабхупада не мог это сделать?
Yes, not everyone agreed on his main point, which is about eating meat. Thou shalt not kill, so why are you killing? They,
Да,
they,
такие случаи бывали, когда Прабхупада общался по теме убийства животных.
every path, even Buddhism, which originally Buddha taught this whole non-violence, but modern times, so many people are Buddhist, and they conclude that eating meat is okay.
И он говорил, что философия буддизма, она очень насилие, но сейчас в современном мире очень много буддистов, которые исследуют.
And in religious paths where it's taught, "Thou shalt not kill," they conclude that no, that just means you should not kill people, you should not murder.
И Прабхупада, он говорил, что вот ваше учение такое, что насилие не нужно убивать, а если нужно убивать, и на это они ему ставили такие аргументы, выдвигали, что говорили, нет, это касается, этот принцип касается не убивать людей, а животных убивать.
But Srila Prabhupada would say, no, it says thou shalt not kill. That is general statement, not specifically that thou shalt not murder, because thou shalt not kill in general.
Прабхупада говорил, что нет, это общее положение, общий принцип, и нельзя там разделять, что это касается людей или кого-то другого.
And Srila Prabhupada in general, he did not argue about so many different points with people of other religions. He did not try to convince them that, oh, you should you're following this religion, but you should throw that out and follow his other religion. No, he said you let them practice their religion, but at least the basic principle of religion, which is one of them is not killing, follow that at least.
Пытался переубеждать других людей, относительно принципа религии, и говорил, что никогда не говорил, что нужно отбросить свою религию. Он говорил, следуйте своей религии, но по меньшей мере примите этот принцип, чтобы не убивать.
And Srila Prabhupada would point out that, look, every religion, even though they say that you should, eating meat is okay, but they also, the Jews have their the kosher laws, right? Kosher means, okay, if you're going to eat meat, no problem. You just have to make sure there's not one drop of blood in that meat. There are many restrictions, make it very, very difficult to follow if you want to eat meat. So the Srila Prabhupada would point out that these religions, um, they say, do not do this, do not eat meat, and then but if you're going to, I mean, the religious principles made it very complicated to to eat meat. So the point was better forget about it and do not eat meat. She'll probably point those things out.
Почему Прабхупада указывал на то, что хотя указывал на то, что просто не ели мясо, хотя и какие-то религиозные принципы не могут давать разрешение на мясо, но тем не менее Прабхупада сказал, как правило,
Prabhupada even pointed out that I was just reading. The Bible teaches about the Noah and the ark, the big boat. We just read about Matsya. In Christian teachings, there's Noah, and he was told to make this big boat, and all animals and like that. And then of course then there's a big flood and all their life is gone. So what do you do? So there was some allowance at that time. Okay, there's nothing else, so you had to eat certain kind of foods in the sea. But that was, the Srila pointed out, yes, there was some allowance, but that was because that was required. Even Srila Prabhupada wrote in Srimad. Oh, sorry, he's translating. Just like Srila Prabhupada wrote in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, it was in a section about King Prithu. He said that even if in the world people are there's actually no food to eat, and people are following religious principles, but somehow there's nothing to eat, then you do what you have to do. You eat anything to maintain your life, but there's a special circumstance. But Srila Prabhupada's point was, again referring to what they call the covenant, means some adjustment made as far as the diet of people. He said that he said Noah may have made some statement like that because there's nothing to eat. You can eat anything because there's nothing. But in modern times, that doesn't count. There's food everywhere. We don't have that problem. So no one can say that because such and such happened thousands or whenever that was historically, therefore we can eat anything we feel like eating now because of that then. It was a time and circumstance situation.
Сейчас такое время, что нет ситуации, что нет еды. То есть очень много различных еды. То, что вы приводите, например, пожалуйста, что может считается есть, скажем так, чтобы выжить, считается есть, если нет такой еды, но вот сейчас нет в этом проблемы, то есть полно различных другой еды.
So anyway, to answer your question, Srila Prabhupada, not everything that Srila Prabhupada taught them, the other religious followers of other religions, they did not accept everything Srila Prabhupada said, but still they could not defeat him, but they also many times did not accept what Srila Prabhupada said either.
Что касается вопроса, то они с кем Шрила Прабхупада долгие разговоры, они бывало часто, что не принимали какие-то утверждения, но Шрила Прабхупада, он не стремился их как-то победить, он просто продолжал говорить.
So those are a few points. So I think we're at the end for now. Tomorrow is the Vaishnava etiquette course again. Yes. So tomorrow we'll go into the next week 4. Anyway, we'll continue with the Vaishnava etiquette course tomorrow. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.